Recognized.
Thank you. And I, too, join my colleagues in supporting the McCaul amendment in the nature of a substitute. And let me just say that, in contrast to the underlying EGLE Act, I believe that the McCaul amendment provides real consequences for the CCP's malign behavior. It keeps sensitive American-made technology out of the hands of the Chinese Communist Party, and it properly supports Taiwan and other Indo-Pacific allies. The framework in the amendment in the nature of a substitute to work with partners and allies to cut the CCP off from critical technologies such as semiconductor manufacturing technology is so important, and why I support the ANS. And we have seen our overdependence on foreign sources of chips, and all we have to do is listen to our auto manufacturers and auto dealers in our districts to understand why this should be in any China bill. Accountability for the Commerce Department's failure to fully implement the Export Control Reform Act, restricting the export of emerging and foundational technologies to the PRC. This provision in the McCaul Amendment builds upon the bipartisan work of 2 Congresses ago in the FIRMA legislation, where we reformed and updated CFIUS while at the same time modernizing our approach to export controls. Mandatory designation of CCP military companies to the Department of Commerce entity list, ensuring that this critical technology cannot be transferred without a license. This is why the ANS is superior to the underlying EGLE Act. Mandatory transparency for Congress on dual-use technology transfers to PRC entities designated as national security threats. Why we're not taking this as seriously in the EGLE Act, I do not understand. Updating pre-internet era authorities that prevent the U.S. government from stopping the export of sensitive U.S. personal data to the PRC, such as genomic and health data. That is holding the Chinese Communist Party accountable. That is actually imposing real consequences on their malign behavior. Tracking financial flows to the PRC, including passive investment through index funds. We need greater visibility in capital flows to the PRC in order to know how to respond to that and to respond to the economic warfare of the PRC. We don't need Western capital financing the CCP's military-civil fusion. And I'll also echo my friend from South Carolina's emphasis on updating and improving the Development Finance Agency. We did a lot of good work modernizing OPIC and recognizing that the Development Finance Agency that we have in the U.S. government can be an important tool in countering China's Belt and Road Initiative. That's what this legislation should be focused on, countering China's malign economic warfare and Belt and Road Initiative, using our own tools and leveraging the private capital to go in and compete in lesser developed parts of the world. So in sum, I support the McCaul Amendment in the nature of the substitute because it imposes real consequences for the CCP's malign behavior. It protects American-made technology. It responds to the forced transfer of technology and the theft of intellectual property that is so important. And then obviously supporting our allies in Taiwan by advancing that relationship with measures such as allowing Taiwan military personnel to wear their uniforms in the United States and focusing on our high-tech ties. I will say a follow-on on this is to urge this administration to take seriously the need to further integrate the Taiwan and U.S. economies by pursuing a bilateral trade agreement with Taiwan. I think that would send a powerful signal that we will defend our friends in Taiwan. And with that, I encourage all of my colleagues to support the amendment in the nature of substitute, and I yield back.